Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips, and we are approaching the biggest weekend of the year. If you are a college hoops fan, there's no doubt about it. The Final Four coming up, and we have four incredible teams that have made pretty terrific runs to this tournament in really, I would say, epic fashion with what we've seen over the past few weeks. I know that people maybe haven't gotten the Cinderellas they were hoping for, but there was no shortage of highlights and no shortage of special moments here in the past few weeks.
Well, and we're just going to neglect the fact that the four number one seeds advanced in the women's tournament in remarkable fashion when you look at the dominance that those four teams have played with. So there's a lot of hoops. There's a lot of Easter eggs to be found. There's a lot of Thanksgiving to be given after this season of Lent. But we also have the high school world going on. So we have the Conshohocken tournament in Philadelphia. We have all-star games. You read all over. People all over the country are watching. There's all-star games in your area. And in Philadelphia, we have a very special game, the All-Star Labor Classic, April the 12th at Holy Family. Now, think about how this starts. The first game that day is the Union guys versus Philadelphia Legends. And we're going to fill in some names as we go. But there are college players who are coming back to play against the Union guys. And the Union guys are holding a practice, by the way. I want film of that practice. And then we have the boys' city versus the boys' suburbs and the girls' city versus the girls' suburbs. And to kind of give us more of a background, we're joined by Grace McShane from Bensalem High School and Doron Ross from Frankford High School. So to these two young people who were nominated and then selected, they had to be nominated by their high school coach and then selected, not just for their play on the court, but for their well-roundedness. So we welcome Grace and Doron to the Make a Difference podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Grace, you go first. Hey, again, you were nominated and then selected. Without your high school coach, without your high school athletic director, without the support of your teammates, you may not be here today. So I want you to brag about them. Tell us about your coach. Tell us about your support staff at Bensalem. Tell us about your teammates.
Yeah, it's really like a welcoming place here. We all like get along and you can like talk to like anyone. It's really easy to make relationships. So like having those relationships makes it so much easier to play. And we made it pretty far this year. We made it all the way to state, which is the first time for us in a long time. So it really like felt good to be able to do that.
And that moment in time when you got the call that you were selected for the All-Star Labor Classic, how'd that feel?
It really made me feel like good about myself because it like shows that your hard work really does pay off.
And Doron, same. You have a unique feature here in that your dad is your high school coach and your dad was a Frankford High School legend. And you've managed to measure up and compete in a way and protect your family name in a really special way. Tell us about your coach, your dad, your mom, who's a spectacular trainer, and your teammates.
Both of them played a really important part in my career. Like they're pretty much the first support system I had going in. I started with track first, and then I gradually moved on to basketball. And both of them were there. Both of them were there along the journey. It was really fun to have them along. My teammates, they're great too. I really enjoyed creating the relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
So we made it far. We did great. We won districts. Made it to the city championship. We didn't win that. But we did make states, and I do believe we could have made a great run. But our season was cut short. But over that time, I do enjoy how together we were during that game and how locked in we were.
How about that moment when you heard you were selected for this game, the All-Star Labor Classic? What was that feeling like?
I actually didn't get a call. I got a text.
Okay.
I got a text the day we had a game to actually make it to the district championships, and that kind of inspired me. That kind of inspired me to get our win. So, yeah.
And then having one more chance to be coached by your dad, what's that going to be like?
I think it's gonna feel special.
Mm-hmm.
Like just one more game together before I go out to college, wherever I go. But I think it's gonna be pretty good.
Now, Grace, there's a charitable portion of this game, and your community has really rallied behind you. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, so like I said, it's really easy to build relationships around here. So like having those relationships makes it so much easier to be able to make a difference with these donations. I have a great relationship with my coach, so he was able to post it onto the Bensalem girls basketball page, which helped a lot. I have a lot of supporting family that are always willing to donate for me. I actually have an aunt that works in the NICU too, so that was very helpful. And it really just shows how good this charity is.
Mm-hmm. And Doron, this opportunity is not just a game on a Sunday. There's a dinner, and there's going to be some really tremendous speakers. We don't want to put anybody out there in case schedules get changed up, but let's just say that there's going to be a professional basketball player that will address these young people. There'll be a legendary Philadelphia coach that will address these people, along with the charitable organization that will make a presentation. So, Doron, you have a dinner, a practice, and the game. With all that you have going on as a senior in high school, have you been able to block out the time necessary to participate in everything around the Labor Classic?
I'm gonna say not really because I had a lot of workouts at AAU schedules,
Okay.
AAU scheduled practices.
But those opportunities will be presented and they will be embraced. So we're delighted that you're in the game. Congratulations on that. Delighted for the impact that you've had on your communities. Keep doing that. Use the game to make other people's lives better. So thank you for joining us, Doron, and for Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
We'll get all that information up. The charity is sensational, and the money raised already by the labor unions would choke you. I don't want to be putting out figures early, but there's always room for one more donor. The dinner, I'm really looking forward to the dinner on April 9th, the practices on April 10th, and the game on April 12th.
And I think it's just such a testament to these bright young student athletes to see, like you said, how well-rounded they are when it comes to what they're doing on the court, but then what they're doing off the court and how they're trying to make a difference. And it's awesome to highlight that.
And one of the things, and I have to find this, I'm not real strong with the computer, but there is a way that you can sign up for tickets.
Okay.
And you can get free tickets when you sign up. So it'll be really, really cool to see a full gym at Holy Family for both a girls game and the boys game. And this Legends roster is starting to get the juices flowing. Like everybody wants to get back and coach. When you say, well, they're playing against the union guys, I want to be a part of that.
I bet it's gonna be a fun day.
After those high school kids, got to give them some Martelli minutes. They gave them to us, and we know we're going to get them from Tom Crean. So the Martelli minute, right?
Every morning,
6:30
on Instagram,
Phil_Martelli. and Status Solutions is still with us. Dale Carnegie is still with us. They are still open to someone coming to one of their programs. Please reach out. We have a scholarship sitting here. It's $2,800 just on how you present yourself. So the Martelli Minute, combining God-given talent with a positive attitude, fierce determination will lead to unimaginable successes. Be yourself. Don't let social media lead you somewhere, or comments or clicks. Be yourself. Do something today that others won't, so tomorrow you can achieve something that others can't. In all you do, protect your family name. Forget wishing and hoping. Put in the work. Make your presence a present by being where you are. Make your presence a present by being where you are. Not with the craning neck and looking around, not with the phone in front of your face. You are giving a gift to another by being there. Being there. Martelli Minute, every morning, 6:30. No spring break.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, Phil_Martelli.
Brought to you by Status Solutions.
And I had an opportunity to be in an event, and a person came up to me, a young person came up and said, hey, I was really nervous. I was going to an interview, and I read your Martelli Minute before I went in, and it calmed me, because it was basically the one where you are good enough. And that's what they wanted to go into that meeting with. And we're excited. And I guarantee you that our segment coming up will not take a minute, because we have a guest whose career and experiences, basically like wide world of sports, span the globe. We're going to get a basketball education in our guest segment today.
Without much further ado, I think we have to jump into our main guest for today's show. Get right into it. He's been patiently waiting. And
first, we have the high school kids, the Martelli Minute, which applied to everybody, and now this guest. And I am so wound up about this guest. So wound up. What we have is a basketball lifer. And even bigger than that, a coaching lifer. And anytime you're in his presence, he takes on this aura of a coach's coach. Wants to support the game, wants to support the players, but you never leave a conversation with our guest not recognizing how much he loves coaches. Now, it's easy in a way. I shouldn't use that word, but when you think about it, his father-in-law won a football national championship. His brother-in-law won a Super Bowl. His brother-in-law won a national collegiate championship. You wonder when the conversation turns to hoops, or is it all talking coaching all the time? Unmatched in preparation. Unmatched. Whether it's TV, radio, camp setting, which I've had an opportunity to work with him, USA Basketball, where I had a chance to work with him, unmatched in his preparation. So if you want to discuss high school basketball, college basketball, and the NBA, our guest is the person. But we do need we're going to need some clips of the family dinner conversations. Got it? Football national championship, Super Bowl,
it's a lot of pedigree at that Thanksgiving table.
A lot. So we are delighted to be joined by Tom Crean. Tom, thanks for joining Make a Difference.
Absolutely, man. I'm fired up after that introduction, but really fired up listening to the high school students talk, and that was great. I'm glad I got a chance to hear that. But Phil, I appreciate everything, and there was no hesitation whatsoever once you asked to do this. So I'm honored to do it.
Thank you. All right. Well, we have to jump right away to Sunday. Okay. And you had a courtside seat. What was that? Where would that moment rank, and what was it like in the moment, Tom?
Well, anytime, and I've had a chance to do radio now for 3 years in that environment, and it's just incredible. First off, you don't ever take it for granted. You don't ever take sitting there for granted. And you understand why all these people spend these incredible amounts of money to sit courtside, because it's just such a different level when you look, especially the physicality. And so what just knocks you out immediately is the intensity level combined with the physicality and just the absolute toughness, physical and mental toughness you've got to have to go through these possessions, really literally at the beginning all the way through the end. And you just get such a feel for how much winning means, when you get into the level, how hard it is, how much not only that physical strength and mental toughness is, but how much your technique is so important, like running into screens versus getting around the screen, or getting your hands up to challenge a shot just a little bit higher than maybe you're used to, just different things like that. So it's great to be a part of it. And I love being able to work with the people that I've worked with, because you study so much and prepare because that's who you are. But you very quickly get into these environments and realize that if you weren't doing that, you would be way behind the other people you're working with, because they are so locked in to their craft. And that's what I love about it. It inspires you to keep knowing more, doing more. And as you know, Phil, from doing television, like, you have so much there that you have at your disposal, but you never really get time to use it because of the way the game is going. And for me, when Braylon Mullins hit that shot, the two most important words in my ear are lay out, right? And let the play-by-play man do his job. And Scott Graham, who's in Philly, was just phenomenal. It was just incredible to work with him. And he made one of the great calls of all time in radio history with that shot.
Tom, that game in particular, I was pulled away to a family obligation and then caught it in the last maybe 90 seconds. But Duke's dominance to the point of being up 19, did you ever have a sense of what turned that and how UConn could bring that thing back?
Yeah, a couple things. Started the second half. Duke was still playing hard, but there wasn't that, you didn't feel that energy. I sitting courtside, I didn't feel that energy. And it wasn't that they were doing anything differently, just didn't feel it. And it wasn't like neither team was overly vocal. And UConn needed something to go well for it to change. But I thought the way that Danny Hurley and the staff and the way UConn closed the half was not bad, right? They had cut it down some. Right. And I think that was really, really important. But I never felt like Duke was out there just to put the hammer down early on. And some of that's youth. And anything we talk about with Duke in this game, or in this broadcast, is not having Caleb Foster on Sunday the way that they had him on Friday. They could feel that. Like, there was what Caleb Foster did in the second half Friday was incredible, because when John Shower's not exaggerating one bit. I mean, he was not on his feet. I saw him on the scooter. All right. The only time I saw him really moving around was in warmups, and then when he was in the game. We did our interviews. He's on his scooter. You see him at practice. He's on his scooter. You see him in the hallway of the arena in DC. He's on his scooter, right? And they were keeping all that weight. He was in a lot of pain. I think the intestinal fortitude of that kid is one of the great things that I've ever seen in a short period of time like that. And I've known him since recruiting him. some at Georgia. But that really, really hurt them. Like, he brought a level of inspiration to that team on Friday night in the second half just by being out there. So, but I thought UConn did a really good job of staying with what they were doing. There was no frustration when they were missing the threes. And they were like, what, 1 of 18 at one point.
That's
but they weren't bad shots. They weren't bad shots. They were just not going in. A couple maybe fadeaways, like Malachi Smith took one maybe he didn't need to take. But like, the bottom line was they just kept going. And what just hit you is UConn never got away from the screening in their offense. And I didn't think Duke screened nearly as well in the second half. And one of the things that UConn did a great job of, because Duke was so good getting down the middle of the floor. In the game on Friday night against St. John's, 41 of their 65 points came as a direct result of getting down the middle of the floor, whether they got fouled, whether they got to the rim, whether they made a kick out. They just dominated the middle, and they weren't able to do that against UConn. And a lot of that's because UConn was able to get under the screens.
Yes.
Like, Braylon Mullins was fresh all game. He never really got hit. And he was able to play at the level. They were able to cut them off. But there's no doubt in my mind, not having Caleb Foster being able to I think they were truly in a what can he do when we get to the game mindset with him, because I think he was in a lot of pain leading up to that. But no, you could sense, I'm not going to say I could sense the win, but you could sense the comeback early, to me.
And that I have to do this because this is like coach stuff. It just popped into my head riding around maybe early this morning, and that moment, Tom. So he misses the first foul shot. They're down 3.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He misses the first foul shot, and there's 10 seconds left. Did it cross your mind that I wonder if they're going to miss this one and get a tip out, try to get a 3 off of a tip out? Or did you see them playing it out to the buzzer like they did?
No, I didn't think, I thought it would have been crazy to try to miss intentionally with 10 seconds to go, because they had the arrow, they had the arrow. Okay. So to me, and I said this on the air, like, you got to let the referees know that you're not going for the foul right away. You're going for the tie up. And I don't know if they did, if they didn't, if they did say it, in that situation. But again, you can put Duke in the corner. You could force them into the corner. And I thought Duke kind of got where they wanted to go inside of that press, but there was no need to foul immediately because of the arrow. Now, they could have run out of time. Caden Boozer, all right, just takes a couple dribbles rather than trying to make that pass. And it wasn't a bad intended pass. He just didn't have enough on it, and the pressure was too high with 2 people being there. And like, somebody said, well, maybe it would have been better if he just tried to hold on to the ball. No, because now you've got a jump ball and it's going UConn's way, and they've got a free look without a foul. And so, no, you don't want to hold the ball there. It was just a tough play. But I didn't think they'd miss intentionally. I thought they would foul earlier.
Yes.
And it just didn't happen. And so it was a fluke both ways. It was a fluke for UConn to get the ball back. It was a fluke for Duke to lose it. It was just a very, very heads-up play defensively with having the hands up. And then one of the great shots of all time was you can't say that without saying it was one of the great assists of all time for Alex Caravan to have the presence of mind after just hitting a 3 on a down screen action where they got Cam Boozer hung up in the pick. He had just hit his first 3. So he's feeling good about himself, and he's got that kind of range, but the presence of mind to throw that pass to an open Braylon Mullins was incredible.
No question. All right, Tom, you've seen these teams, and I'm sure you've studied these teams. What is the viewing public in for? What's the basketball? This is the whole country watches the Final Four.
Sure.
What will this be like this weekend?
Well, first and foremost, they can't. I'm sure you're going to do shows. I've done a couple shows. You read it online. Like, everybody's treating it like it's a 1-game tournament when Arizona plays Michigan. And that's just not the case. I mean, those 2 teams are really, really good, but that's not the case. When you get to the Final Four, not only can any of the 4 teams win it, but if you look at this tournament, if you look at Florida versus Houston last year, if you look at Houston versus Duke last year, These are 40-minute games, man. I mean, and those second halves are paramount. And you look at how these teams got there, like what Arizona did to Purdue in the second half the other night, what Michigan has been able to do in the second half, how UConn beat Duke in the second half. You know this stat, but I'm gonna say it on the show. Duke going into the UConn game in the tournament was 18 of 23 on average from the foul line. The opponents were 5 of 8 from the foul line. Like, think about that. And I mean, they were averaging 8 free throw attempts a game. They'd only given up 24 in 3 games. Like, you're going to lose when that happens. And UConn didn't beat them at the foul line. I think they got within 5, but I think they had 17 free throw attempts in the game. And so, like, to me, there's so many things, and I think people got to enjoy the games.
Yes.
If you really want to study it, if you're looking to really dive in, what is the free throw game like? Who does get fouled? How do they get fouled? And what are those ways that they're going to be able to do that? The points off turnovers. Duke had 8 turnovers in the second half, including the last one, which was so costly. UConn had 1 in the second half. The points off turnovers were 14-0 in the second half. Like, those things matter. Points in the paint matters, but points in the paint can be a little misconstrued at times because, you know, you're getting turnovers, you're getting in the paint, things of that nature. How are they getting in the paint? Are they getting second shots? Are the second shots turning into fouls, layups, or threes? And that's one thing that Duke was so good at. They were so good at offensive rebound of the ball, getting it kicked back out. Well, they didn't get as many of those the other night. So I think that part of the game, it's not about the scoring. It's not about the leading scores. That kind of stuff is fun. It's about the efficiency, and it's about the hustle game, and it's about getting more shots than your opponent. And I think those things are great. I mean, let's look at the end of the game. And there's a challenge on Caden Boozer's pass. There's not a challenge on Braylon Mullen's shot. Right. And Isaiah, I mean, these are kids, man. And it can happen in the NBA, but these are kids. And they can say they're pros and they're making this money. That is such nonsense. Yes, they're making money, but it's not like all of a sudden they've gained all this knowledge and experience and discernment because they're making money. They're just making money, right? They're still young people going through this. And when you have the human element in there and chaos and pressure come, there it is. I mean, that's the bottom line. I think it's going to be a great tournament.
It's chaos about the whole. It's everything. It's police escorts to the game. It's pick X thousands of people watching your basically a glorified shoot around, right?
Yep.
On Friday. It's the buzz in the city. And if there's a Mount Everest of host cities, Tom, I think you would agree. Indiana's up there, San Antonio, because it's a walkable, everything is compacted. And then for a basketball nut, NIT semifinals on Thursday.
Yes.
Division II, Division III final on Sunday, NIT final on Sunday, and all these games. And you have these massive turnouts like Illinois and Michigan are often in Indianapolis. Arizona travels. Like that was a home game, they're regional. And then UConn, like the problem for the UConn people is, well, do we go to Indy or do we go to Arizona? Can you imagine 2 teams in the Final Four? It's amazing.
Oh no, it's going to be the only people happier than the teams are the scalpers, because it's going to be incredible. And there's no doubt. I mean, it's such a festive city. We loved living in Bloomington, and one of the reasons was because of how close it was to Indy, right? Whatever you wanted to do, whether it was, I mean, you did not have to change your day to go to Indianapolis, to go shopping, to go to eat, to go to a Colts game or a Pacers game, to go see somebody, to go have a meeting. It was so easy. And it's such a great location, such a great place to live. And people, they can say what they want. Indianapolis is a destination city. And if you even like basketball a little bit, it's a destination city. So it'll be a lot of fun there for people.
No doubt. So, Tom, your journey, like I called you a basketball lifer, and I mean that with total affection.
Sure.
Take us through your coaching journey. And along the way, who are the people that mentored you in the profession itself, because you handle yourself, and I've always handled yourself at such a high level of professionalism. Could you help us with that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was very fortunate once I figured out, like anybody, that you have a lot to learn, and the people that you're surrounding yourself with, you can either be really open to that or you can think you have answers. And I never came up like that with the answers. I mean, I was really, really fortunate in high school coaching to work for a man named Ted McIntyre and Denny Kuiper. And then because I played for them in high school, then I got a chance to do that at Alma College. I worked for a man named Ralph Pym that had tremendous Division I experience. He had actually recruited Mike Bray, was one of his first recruits to Northwestern State, Louisiana. People forget that Mike Bray went to Northwestern State before he came back to GW. And so it was a guy like that. I ended up building a friendship with Mike Bray because I met him one time when he came to Central Michigan to see his old coach. But those kind of things, being able to get coaching starting in college and working at two places while I went to college was great. Michigan State, I got to work for Judd Heathcote, which was incredible. But more importantly, I got to live and be around Tom Izzo every day. And myself and Jim Boylan, who's now with the Indiana Pacers, we literally lived. We each had a bedroom in Tom Izzo's first house and then his second house, which he moved into during the year. And it was incredible. We won a Big Ten championship that year and went to the Sweet 16 in New Orleans and lost to Georgia Tech. And in this day and age, with replay, the shot by Kenny Anderson would have never counted. And Judd might have had a tremendous opportunity to get back to the Final Four, but it was just a different day. And then working for Ralph Willard at Western Kentucky for 5 years, 4 at Western and 1 at Pitt. Nothing shaped my coaching like that. And as good a basketball coach as I've ever been around. For those that don't know Ralph Willard, it's Kevin Willard's father. So I got to be around Kevin from the time he was 15 on. I learned so much from Ralph. I learned so much about the business, about offensive basketball, defensive basketball. Really what that it instituted in my mind is there is always a way to win a particular game. And it's never just about your system. It's never just about how you like to play. It's about what it takes to win. And we were having this conversation in the interviews with Danny Hurley this past weekend because he was on a Seton Hall team with Luther Wright and Terry DeHare and Jerry Walker and guys like that I believe was a 2 seed. And I was with Ralph Willard in year 3 at Western Kentucky. And we're playing in Orlando. And we beat Penny Hardaway in Memphis on the Thursday night. And then we end up beating Seton Hall and PJ Carlissimo on the Saturday. And Ralph completely changed our offense. I shouldn't say completely, but he put in different offense for us to attack Luther Wright, who was 7'2", just a mammoth presence on both ends of the floor. Danny was the point guard, and we win the game, right? And it's like when you have moments like that in coaching, you never forget them. And so then I was with Ralph, and then I went with Tom Izzo when he took over at Michigan State, and it was an incredible 4 years of going through things together with Tom. And we actually talked about this some in the interviews because our first trip to the NCAA tournament was in Hartford, Connecticut in year 3 of Tom. We went to the NIT the first 2 years. We play Eastern Michigan on a Thursday night. We turn around, we're going to play Princeton and Bill Carmody on a Saturday. And we had a short period of time to get ready for 2 entirely different offenses and to get ready for that. And that's when Tom Izzo started instituting these 20 to 25 minute team breakdown meetings, right? You almost called them skull sessions back then. Like we might watch film, we might walk through, but he didn't keep the team too long in any situation. And that was all Tom. That was all Tom's ideas. Well, 28 years later, he's still doing the same stuff with a few adjustments to that. So those were incredible times. Those are all people that mentored me. But when I got my head coaching job at Marquette and went through that, to be around Al McGuire for a year and a half, I wouldn't trade that for anything. Because when I first met him, he wasn't, if he was sick, nobody knew it. And maybe he was, but he was still he did numerous games for us my first year at Marquette. He did numerous games broadcasting the games. And it was just awesome to be around him. And then he passed away within a year and a half, but I got to spend some incredible quality time with him, even 4 days before he passed away. And he was in a hospice, but I got to spend some time with him. And those kind of things and the people you meet along the way. But I heard you say this one time, Phil, at a clinic, and I was fortunate to be able to attend some of those retreats, right? I didn't go to a lot of them, but I got invited to some. But you said one time, you talked about retreats, but you said something about the best thing you do is you put on one of those coaches' films, one of
Yes.
those videos. I'll never forget it. I don't remember where we were at, but you were speaking and then I was speaking after. And I got there because I wanted to hear you, right? I might always tried to time up. I'd always ask these people when they'd ask you to do the clinic, okay, well, who's on the same day that I'm on? Who's on before? Who's on after? And I try to schedule the flight around that. And I wanted to hear you. And you did a lot of great stuff in there. I think it was a big situation, special situations topic you talked about. But you talked about watching those films. And I said, man, I'm watching video. I need to watch more of those Coach's Choice films. I probably ordered, you helped make them business, because I probably ordered another 40 to 50 tapes over the next couple of years just based on you saying that. And I'd watch some, but then I said, man, if Phil's doing that, and I see what he's doing with situations, and including ordering some of your tapes, I did that. So I was fortunate to run into a lot of really good people at Marquette, at Indiana, at Georgia. And I've met just some incredible people that I've learned so much from in this broadcasting world too. And so I'd like to think that every day I'm doing this, I'd be ready to do a game tomorrow. I'd be ready to coach a team tomorrow. And that's what I love about it.
I want to take it in the next two questions go in different directions, but they're coming off of this conversation. I think the first thing is talk about your family commitment to your journey. I know how paramount family is to you. Like that journey, you're at Western, now you're at Michigan State, now you're at Marquette. That journey, Tom, couldn't be done without your family.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. And I had my mother. My mother was the one that gave me all these opportunities, because she didn't know the first thing about basketball, but she knew that I loved it. And when I was growing up, my parents were apart, but my mom would take me and drop me off at a Piston game and then go shopping and then drive back 2.5 hours that night because she knew that I just loved basketball. She would drop me off at a Michigan State game. I would go to Central Michigan games. Then when I was coaching, I made $700 in 3 years coaching at Alma College. And I was coaching at Mount Pleasant High. I got paid in the summertime, some for the camp, but that was a non-paying position. But yet I was going to college. And my last 3 semesters were 20, 22, and 21 hours at Central Michigan. And my mom was really footing these bills for me. I mean, I had a part-time job along with coaching, but she was footing the bills. So like none of it would have ever happened, without her. None of it would have ever happened without my dad taking me to all these Detroit Tiger games or Detroit Lion games, or occasionally a basketball game when I was growing up. But to me, going to Western Kentucky, meeting Joni, my wife, her father, Jack, as you mentioned, was the head football coach there, and being there with them, that was incredible, and just absolutely incredible. While I was at Western Kentucky, they actually were dropping football at Western Kentucky. They were dropping it like it was going to be gone. So I got to see this unbelievable level of passion that Jim had for his parents and John had for their parents. And Jim became a $1 a year assistant coach for Jack during that time that I was there. Then even after I left, where he would come, he would have his meetings. He would have his meetings in rehab on a Monday in Indianapolis, get in the car, drive down Monday night. This is when he's playing for the Colts. Get in a car, drive down Monday night, be there all day Tuesday, coaching with the team, drive back late Tuesday night after the meetings because he'd have a Wednesday morning practice or meeting at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And he was doing it every week. And he was a high-level NFL player. I mean, just to see the level of commitment that Joni's family had to her parents was incredible for us. But being a part of this, Phil, you know this, and if there's anything where I feel the worst not coaching and doing what I do is because my kids were such a huge part of this. And now my daughter's 30, my son is 26 and with the Dallas Mavericks, and my youngest daughter's 20 and a sophomore at Auburn. I miss that they're not experiencing all that every day, because there's absolutely nothing like going through it with your family. The sacrifices they make, the things they read online, the things they hear, it gets outweighed by the fact they get to celebrate and be a part of that. And I miss that.
Tom, now flip to yes, coaching, but what you're doing now, you're coaching the public as you're doing games on TV. You're in the studio, you're on the radio. So this dedication to preparation, was that from day one? Was that you as a student, or was that acquired through all of these experiences you've had in coaching?
Well, I think over a period of time, it certainly wasn't me as a student. I wish it was, but it wasn't. I think what really taught me how to write a lot of stuff down is getting coaching at a young age and being responsible for scouting reports. And that was huge. And so it was, and I started going to clinics literally when I was 15 years of age. So because, I mean, and I didn't go to many, but I mean, and even on my 18th birthday, I went to a clinic in, or 20th birthday. I'm sorry, not my 18th, but my 20th birthday, I went to a Las Vegas clinic for Nike. And it was my first time ever on an airplane. And I went to that, and I flew out there and was a part of that clinic. So I think at a young age, I was always loved basketball. I loved to write, but then I really learned how to study. And I think having to do the scouting reports and the preparation was incredible. And so the level of preparation went to a whole other level when I got with Ralph Willard, because Ralph Willard was a no notes guy. Like, you didn't come out there with notes, because he had learned that from Rick Pitino, and Rick Pitino had learned that from Hubie Brown. So when you went out to do it,
that's like, you go out there with not, yeah.
I would hide them in if I didn't have pockets in my shorts, like, I was in trouble, right? Because I would keep the notes in my pocket, even though I wouldn't pull them out, because you didn't want to get caught pulling them out. Like, he would roast you if you did that. So I would have them in. They were like that was like me being a little baby with a blankie, right? Like, I would have my notes in my pocket just to feel better, but I wouldn't pull them out. But there were definitely a couple of times I went behind a bleacher when I said I was going to get some water and looked at those notes. I'd have to admit that. But for the most part, like, I'm not kidding, Phil. And you know, it's like, if they had 24 sets, you had to know those 24 sets, and you weren't going to your pages. So, like, there were many nights and days where you're stressing yourself out at a high level with this memorization. And it taught me to not only memorize, but it taught me to internalize. And so the note taking to me, the preparation to me meant, okay, well, you can memorize all you want, but you better understand what you're saying. It's never, well, it's A to B to C to D, if you don't understand why it's A to B to C to D and what happens if B can't get to C. And so, like, that's where I really grew as a coach, with the preparation. And I was just so fortunate to be around that at young ages, that forced me to go way beyond anything that I could have ever imagined, and being able to get across to players. And then I think the other thing, Phil, that was so big, that Ralph Willard had me go out and speak, right? Like, I was getting at a very young age to go to events.
Yes.
And it was tremendous. So it wasn't just clinics. It might be a Rotary. It might be a golf outing. It might be a clinic in, 3 hours away. Like, that type of stuff. And then what helped me, I think all that preparation helped me with recruiting, because, man, I just learned to study players, get anything I could get my hand on to learn about somebody when I couldn't see it live. And then as technology improved, I couldn't spend enough time watching those films. That's like, I was always watching film when I heard you speak about the tapes, but I wasn't ordering the tapes. And it was a whole other way to say, man, I got to do this. And I did it. And so, like, I just think the preparation thing, if I don't get energy in anything greater than learning. You know, I just do. I get great energy for it. And I want to try to bring that to television and radio too. If I'm learning, I want to share it. And I like doing that.
So Tom, I have two, like, sidebars on this. The The high school in Michigan where you worked again was?
Mount Pleasant High School.
I was born in Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
No way.
Yes, I was. There's an Air Force base there. My father was in the Air Force. I was there for like maybe 9 months. So whenever Michigan or Michigan State did well, I would say, oh, yeah, I'm from Michigan. But you know, through and through, I'd always tell people, I'm from Philly, man.
I had no idea on that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And the watching of the videos, I can't give you an increment, but watching a Fran Fraschilla video changed my whole approach. Here I am going to be the first year coach at St. Joe's. And I'm like, okay, well, I like doing this in compartments in practice and organizing practice and all this other stuff. And you get to team defense and you go, okay, well, we'll do shell and ball side, weak side, blah, 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 blah. And then I see Fran Fraschilla and he said, your shell should be offensive concepts that your opponents will run.
Mm-hmm.
I never again, after that, never did weak side, strong side. I didn't do any of that. I would say, okay, this team's going to run pin downs, put 4 players out there, run a pin down, and we'll play it from there. And we did shell every single day from that day forward because of that video.
That's cool. That's cool. I remember having, I'm sure I have them somewhere in my house. I remember his notes and breakdowns from Manhattan College.
Exactly right.
Yeah, when he had that. And no, you're right. And Phil, the same thing with you. I mean, it just, whether it was your offense, your defense, your situations, your philosophies, I mean, those things, those things, you don't take necessarily everything from everybody, because then you don't have your own ideas, but you do take how that person makes you feel and what the energy you get from them. And it might be in the way they present, the way they teach, their voice inflections. And certainly there's tons of things that you take, that become X's and O's or philosophy type of things. But the greatest thing is just the way you feel, like you asked at the beginning, sitting there. That's why I do a lot of studio with ESPN, and I love it. I love working there. I mean, what it does is it forces you to know so many different things. And you and I have talked about this, but if I didn't get to go to the games, like I need that energy too, right? Like watching these practices, because I did Tampa the first weekend. And so there were 8 teams there. And then there's 4, once you get into the final 32. And then to watch the practices this past Thursday and then this past Saturday, it's just incredible. Like those are where you realize, okay, I've done this for a long time, right? I've coached, I've been in these practices, these same practices. But man, the energy that you feel from watching it and watching the teaching and watching the assistants. And you also see some things like, I don't know.
Exactly right.
All involved. That guy could be this. They missed that. But I don't spend time looking for the negative. Oh, I wish they're not preparing this way. I'm looking for what I take from it, the energy that I feel from it, what I can use in the broadcast. But at the same time, you see the game. And I think what these last couple of weeks have done for me, even again, is because where this game is going. And
exactly.
And a lot of times people are getting hired. They're not getting hired for their development skills. They're not getting hired for their teaching skills. They're getting hired for the relationships they have in recruiting and the money they can bring to the table because of this NIL, pay for play world that we have more than ever right now, where the cheating was always under the table and people had that money. Well, now they can bring that money into the programs, right? They can bring their booster friends or their players into it. But watching these practices and seeing the GAs of UConn and seeing the GAs of Duke and seeing the staff of Rick Pitino, like it just goes to show you at the highest level of winning. Okay. And I'm not speaking on behalf of all 360 some odd teams, but at the highest level of winning. Yes, you got to have players. Yes, you've got to have a plan. Yes, you've got to have a really good head coach. But if you do not have a strong staff, and if you've got weaknesses in your staff, you are going to be found out at some point. And being around this in this NCAA tournament, watching these staffs work is impressive to me as watching the head coaches work.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. Tom, two more questions. This first one, a player, a team, a moment that has given you your greatest joy in this game.
Well, the moment, I would say the way we turned Indiana when it really, really turned, and we felt we were turning it. But when we had that Kentucky win and Christian Wofford hit that shot, it's hard to pass on that moment. My favorite game would surprise you in this sense. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that's. My favorite game would be Great Alaska Shootout. Dwayne Wade had played 2 games at home. We're playing Tennessee, and we're in that game, and we're down 11, maybe 13 at half. I think we are down with 13 at half, and we come back out in the second half versus Tennessee. And my Indiana's there, Gonzaga's there. Mark Few had just recently taken over Gonzaga, and we beat Tennessee, I think, by 11 in the second half. And Dwayne had 32, I think it was. I could be wrong on the numbers, but like that's my favorite game of saying, okay, like we got a bona fide star player here. But hey, there's so many players, Phil, like you, like there's so many players that watching them change. And one thing when I saw you last, and I went back to Marquette where we got the banner, the coaching banner that Shaka Smart and Mike Broker had really worked to get in there. That was one of the greatest moments because of all the former players that came back to that. You know, Dwayne Wade, you probably knew this, but he flew red eye from LAX on Friday night after his wife is Gabrielle Union, an actress, and she had a movie premiere. He got on a flight with Kenny, and they flew LAX commercial, right? They flew, landed in Chicago, come back, stay at the hotel during the day, get a couple hours of sleep. Boom, they're over there with us the whole day. We spend some time with them after the game. They fly back from Chicago on United to get back into LAX by midnight. Like those, Travis Diener, who was running a tournament that day that his daughters were in, he leaves that tournament to be there part of that halftime. The players that came back, the first Big East team that's being honored. Like when you get back around your former players and you get into some event and so many of them come back for that, like that just blows you away.
That was a tribute. That was
unbelievable, man. And my wife got to be there for it, which was because she hadn't really been back. And we'd been back for a reunion in the summertime for the Final Four reunion, but she hadn't really been to a game. And man, she got as loud of ovation as I did. Like that meant that's what made me teary-eyed, right? Because of the way people cheered for her, because she had an impact at Marquette. So like that's the stuff to me, Phil, that no matter how long you coach, that will never, ever not just be an incredible driving force for how it makes you feel.
So now it's Tom Crean, the person. Forget the lifer and the basketball and I have an idea where we'll go with this. You've led us this way, but every guest segment, we end this way. Who's made a difference in your life, Tom Crean?
Oh, I think my mom and dad keeping us in church for so long, 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And I'm not in church like that now, but the spirituality and the loving of reading the Bible, the never being afraid to pray to God, talk to God, talk about God, even at the most public of a university like Indiana, I would have to go with that. Like it's so easy to say my wife and her family, and it's true, but I would just think that without faith in God, without absolute trust and belief, without being raised the way we were in church and on the Bible, my sister Michelle and I have to credit my mom and dad, and especially my mom for that. And so without a doubt, it's that, without a doubt.
Tom, I will just let my young nephew know that this was all transpired on a plane. And there was not like if you can do this, it was yes. When are we going to do it? And that's because that's who he is. He's a
No,
giver.
absolutely.
He's a giver, and I appreciate him for that. I can't wait to see you in Indianapolis. I'm sure you're going to be
No,
swamped.
I won't be there. I don't know if I'll see you till NBA Players Association camp. So, but I won't be in Indianapolis this weekend. I do some things with FanDuel Sports Network for pre and post game for the Bucks and the Timberwolves, and I have the Bucks this weekend. So, just another thing to keep me busy, to keep me at a high level of learning. But I will see you in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Tom, I appreciate you. Thank you for your friendship.
Absolutely. You too, Phil. I mean, as good as our friendship is, I have learned so much from you over periods of time in so many different ways. And I love it. And I know this, my father-in-law being able to develop a friendship with you meant a lot to him too, at a time when in Michigan, when they were going through a lot of hard times. Because as you know, being there with Jim, it wasn't all national championship feelings, with the stuff that he was dealing with inside of that athletic department and areas. So I appreciate that as well.
And I will say this, I often went to the church, St. Francis, right down the street from the big house. And if you asked anybody there, they would say, we're open for one reason, the Harbaugh family.
Yeah.
They kept them open. So
we got married there. We were married in that church. Yeah.
Wow.
We were married there. That's where my wife went to elementary school, and she wanted to be married in Ann Arbor. And so that's where we got married.
Tom, thank you. Look forward to seeing you.
Anytime. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I will say the thing that is so fun to hear is when you we talked about basketball lifer, right? But someone who's just been in the game for so long, coaching for so long, but the way he flips that switch and talked about what we saw over the weekend, like that fan is still like beating in that heart, right? Like that's a basketball fan still, like when it all comes that was said and done.
That was really terrific. And I will say this, I'm stunned. I just assumed that Indianapolis was the only place that everybody would be, but he does have NBA. We didn't even get to the NBA. We didn't talk much about the high school. Maybe when that camp comes around, we'll do something about that. But thanks to Tom Crean, and that will lead us, to where I've been and where I'm going. And
yeah, we got an idea of where he's headed. So let's get an update on Phil Martelli's schedule.
It's busy, but you know what? We can't miss because we've had so much coaching today. I just have a short one for Coaching Corner today, and it's this. To all of our coaches out there, and I don't care the sport, I don't care the gender, I don't care the age, I don't care if it's in your business where you're the coach, if it's in your community, if it's in your charitable endeavors, if it's your teams. Please plan an end of year celebration, end of season celebration. It seems to me that banquets have gone the way of the buffalo. And those are moments, what they really are, they're not who got this award or who got that award, salesman of the year, best department for a quarter, math department did. No. Banquets and year-end celebrations are the ultimate thank you. We just want in this public setting to say thank you for the way that you represented Bensalem High School. Think about these young players coming up in the All-Star Labor Classic. There's a banquet. What is it for? To acknowledge you've been selected. Let's just take a moment to put the spotlight. So much, we talked so much about basketball that it's the transfer portal or coaching changes. And I went on my rant last week about how could coaches coach in the NCAA tournament with one foot out the door? It hurts. It does hurt. So really, maybe it's just in the morning before you start work and it's, hey, everybody come into the break room. You could go to the office and have Michael Scott come in and do his shtick. But it doesn't have to be all night long, but it's a moment where you get there with your team and you're able to look at each other and say, thank you for the sacrifices that you've made this year. So, Coaching Corner, team celebrations, end of year celebrations, end of quarter. There's a lot of tough times going on. So when we get a chance to celebrate it. But now, where have I been?
Where in the world has Phil Martelli been?
Well, Labor Classic. I am on the selection committee. I'm also helping with the banquet, and that has taken up some time with calls, and I appreciate that opportunity. Had a wonderful opportunity to get to Lanark Country Club for a tribute to a dear friend, Steve Comley. His family was there, and people spoke from their heart. Just a wonderful experience, and I thank everybody at Lanark for the opportunity to share about a great friend, Steve Comley. Mike Jensen, who will come on, he did a preview of his book, The History of Philadelphia Basketball. Fascinating. Yes, it's going to be Will Chamberlain, and yes, it's going to be Sonny Hill, and yes, it's going to be Gino Auriemma, and yes, it's going to be the Palestra and Narberth and all these unbelievable mosaics that go with Philadelphia basketball. But then it was hoops, men's and women's hoops. To have a chance to watch and to communicate with a lot of the people that are in this world now have been guests on Make a Difference. Tom Crean sitting half court, Jay Billis, Robbie Hummel, Tom Izzo, John Calipari, Gino Auriemma. We've been fortunate over these, 65, 70?
Almost 80.
Almost 80.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then getting set up for where I'll go. So I'll head to Indy for the Final Four. And when I first started to go, it was all about the excitement of being in the city and getting tickets to the game and those kind of things. And then when I got involved with the NABC and Coaches versus Cancer, I found out that there was a real convention going on. There was a lot. There were clinics. There were managers having games for a national championship. So the NIT semifinals, since I'm on that selection committee, I will go to those games on Thursday night. Friday morning, I've been extended a remarkable opportunity. CEOs versus Cancer. Indiana CEOs versus Cancer. So I'll speak to business leaders about why we all have to get behind crushing cancer in different ways. A dear friend, Michael Salmon, his super networking is making a presentation to the NABC. He's asked me to join him for that. And then there will be a meeting. We're not quite all the way there yet, but Philadelphia Coaching Academy. We will be back next fall, but we are now going to take it to players. So in August, we are going to present an academy at the Pocono Invitational Basketball Camp, a 4-day camp, but we're not allowed to call it a camp. It's an academy because we're going to ask young people to come. And yes, we're going to work on your skills and we're going to do drills and we're going to have competition, but you're also bringing your summer reading. We're going to do reading. We're going to do note taking. We're going to talk about AI and all these other forms that have seeped into our schools. We're going to have a parent day on the last day of the camp. The parents are going to come and say, here's the drills that you want to take home. And we're going to invite high school coaches. We are hoping not all-star. It's not all-star. It's not elite. It's for serious developmental players ages 11 to 16. We'll have more information about that, but we're going to seal that deal in Indianapolis. And other than that, we hope that everybody has a joyous Easter and that this is a big time for families to stay together.
That's exactly right. Happy Easter to everyone out there. Thanks again to Tom Crean. He was absolutely terrific. And we had a pair of amazing student athletes on to highlight the Labor Classic, which we'll do again next week as well. In the lead up to that game, it should be a lot of fun, a really exciting weekend next weekend for the Labor Classic. Easter coming up this weekend, a full weekend of hoops. It's we're hitting the home stretch, but still a lot of fun to be had. Still a lot of hoops to be had. And if you are looking to get in touch with Phil to hopefully make a difference, you can head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but we are at Make a Diff Pod on X. Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we'd really appreciate that 5-star rating. It would be greatly appreciated. That Martelli Minute you can always find at Phil_Martelli on Instagram every morning at 6:30 a.m. And it may no longer be Go Rams, but I think we got to pump these boys up a little bit. It's not, we're not even in April. It's not even April baseball yet, but
it's not spring training either.
No,
it's not spring training. And if 40,000 people are showing up, then 26 guys have to show up.
That's exactly right.
Right? If 40,000 are showing, 26 show, there'll be a lot of excitement with Painter and following Zach Wheeler. The pitching will be fine.
I hope you're right.
Pitching will be fine. But you know what? You have to score runs. Just like you have to score baskets, you have to score touchdowns, you have to score runs. Come on, go Phils. Let's go.
Go Phils.